Hello, and thank you for joining me today. I have some really good news and a little bit of bad news. The good news is that the Tyrannosaurus update was announced earlier today, and we already have a fair bit of information about it. For starters, it releases next week, February 18th, and we had a post on the forums about some of the content that's coming with it, as well as a stream today that covered a little bit about that. I didn't know about the stream when I went to bed, so I have a feeling that some people may have actually missed the stream, so you can consider this kind of like a bit of a highlights video of the stream, but we're going to talk about a little bit more outside of that. But yeah, when I saw the post about the update, I went on to see if this was going to disrupt my doctrines, and it sounds like a lot of the doctrine tier list that I've been working on the past few weeks and had planned for the next few weeks, and it sounds like a lot of doctrines are going to change very soon. So I'm going to delay my tier lists for the tier list series for about a week or two while I familiarize myself with the doctrines and what's changed about them. And who knows, there may be some balancing fixes in the next few weeks, so covering the doctrines before that might be a little bit preemptive. I may need to wait a little bit of time before jumping into that. So yeah, I don't want to wait too long. I think a tier list is a really useful idea, and it seems like people were really responding to the idea, so we will get back to that soon, but we're just going to take a quick hiatus. But with this, I kind of think of the saying, when life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. It's a little bitter. It's a little bittersweet, though, because I get to talk about some cool stuff today. So let's talk about today's stream first. I was taking some notes on the notepad, so we'll look at that first. So there's a mode at the beginning of the game called practice mode, which is going to be great for beginners. If you aren't familiar with Planetfall, you can jump into that, and it's basically easy mode to get you started. If you're like not a giant fan of tutorials, this I think could be a good way for you to figure out some things, but it's locked to those basic settings, and from what I can tell, it doesn't add anything new by itself. There are a lot of new things added in the game which you get access to in the advanced settings. So this isn't really useful for anyone who's got a decent amount of playtime with Planetfall. Now, I think when you go into the advanced settings, there's something called passivity, and you can set the NPCs to be like easier to deal with, and that's probably covered at some point in this. I think I saw that earlier when I just took a quick glance. There was something about, oh, this is about covert ops, and this is about NPC factions. So you can make it so I think they demand 50% less resources, and that sounds pretty useful. You can read what it says right there. But I like the idea of making demands less impactful, because I know a lot of people don't actually deal with NPCs at all because they hate losing Cosmite to them, and I think that's an oversight, because NPC factions are really cool, really useful, and actually worth that investment. But a lot of people weren't seeing that because they weren't actually playing through that aspect of the game. But another thing I really like is now you can turn up the AI difficulty without worrying about them stealing all of your energy with covert operations. You can just turn that off if you don't want to deal with that. But honestly, I think I'm going to keep them on, because to me it seems like a part of the game. How they built it was to be balanced with covert operations, and I like the idea that they're trying to consider people who would outright just turn that off and they still want the game to be like a fun experience, a fun balanced experience. There's something called no colonizer mode, which I think was actually just above here, which sounds like hard mode. Like if you want to make it so you can't just throw it on cities wherever you want, and every early game choice has massive impacts later on down the line, then you can turn this on, and that could be, I think, really fun for multiplayer, or even just single player roleplay if you want to like make it a little bit more challenging. Maybe you played the game a lot, you've done all the combinations, all the secret text with all of the races, and yeah, this would just give you a little bit more content out of the game. So it's a great option. of course, could have been added in a mod, but you don't need to do that if the devs think about it, and they can do it right. They can do it well and really quickly. So I'm really happy to see that they did that. I'm not really sure how the AI is going to handle not having extra cities, because right now they don't really make good units. They make a lot of really crummy ones and not enough to really swarm you properly. I think that has something to do with the AI being limited to how many colonies it could build and how many units it can build. But with all those new sliders, I think that's all going to be addressed. I think they've been hearing what the community's saying, and that's amazing. It's super, super nice to see. Now, it's they were also saying in the stream that this basically turns the game into more of a war game, more of a game about combat than about strategy, and I love that whole idea. That seems really cool. Yeah, that you can do that in a multiplayer setting, especially in a multiplayer setting. That sounds like a really fun little challenge for people who think they know the game and really only rely on one strategy. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the new racial differences. We got to see a couple of the things that are talked about in, I think it is right here, racial gameplay diversity. It's been a big topic, and they started talking. Tom was talking about the Devar first and how they're going to be better at hurrying production. I think 15% better. They can do a lot of things faster because they have more energy at the beginning of the game, so they can hurry things. So I think that makes that one background where you start with 300 energy a little bit more tempting. And if they make that better, like 400 or 500 energy, that all of a sudden becomes, I think, a far more competitive option, especially for the Devar. The assembly are going to be better at modding units. I think they start with Cosmite, and there's no delay in modding units. That sounds like a really, really nice way to play, because if you're playing the assembly, that doesn't mean you can't take on other cities and start using their techs and then modding their units and using that ability for a lot of different strategies. You can do that with NPC faction units that are inside of your assembly faction. At least that's the way I read it when they were talking about it earlier. I haven't got access to the game, so I don't know, or to the update, so I don't really know what's coming further down the line. Vanguard are going to get more experience on their units, and their new units are going to they're going to start with a level. So basically they're going to be all about getting really good units quickly, which I think is going to be limited. I don't think it's going to be as good as the previous two that we talked about, but who knows? Having a little bit of experience, it can go a long way in the early game. The Kirko are going to have cheaper upkeep on tier 1 and tier 2 units, and like with the assembly thing I was talking about a second ago, I think that means that it's gonna just make it easier for you to run all kinds of strategies, not just like a Kirko heavy strategy, but like if you want to incorporate NPC faction units into yours, their tier 1 and tier 2, they're gonna get that discount. Or if you want to incorporate units from another faction or another race, that sounds like a valid strategy for the Kirko. And there's options with the Kirko. You can go like kind of evil and kill anything that's not Kirko, or kind of good and work with everything that is not a Kirko. Those are both fun. For me personally, I like Kirko synthesis, but I know other people like other things. Syndicate are going to get a lot of extra influence, which according to Tom is deceptively powerful, and it sounds really, really powerful, and I think maybe makes noble diplomats even better. I was always a giant fan of that, and I think other people really like indentured contracts. One of the funny things about this means if there aren't that many changes to the doctrines in the syndicate tree, then I don't know if I'm going to re-rank them, because I basically I put noble diplomats at the top because I really like playing good, and now it sounds like playing good is going to be even better. And yeah, sure, indentured contracts, reducing the upkeep of, what is it, indentured units, yeah, that's okay, it's cool, but whatever. Getting an extra doctrine slot sounds really, really, really nice, especially in the early game. If you get that from the early game, which I think you do, I think it's one of the starting bonuses for the Syndicate, they're going to be able to get some pretty powerful passive bonuses going from the early game and snowball that pretty hard. Now, the Amazon are going to get an extra unit at the beginning of the game, a random animal unit, which in the stream was a free penguin, a free tier 2 unit. I love that. That sounds really cool. I mean, you're probably gonna get like a tier 1 unit. You can't rely on that streamer luck, obviously. It'd be nice if you always got a tier 2 unit. Maybe you can get a tier 3 unit, but I kind of feel like they may limit it to tier 1 and tier 2. If you get a tier 3 unit, Amazon have just got so much better. They get extra food when killing animals, so if you take Decadent, then you could get your food from just hunting animals. That sounds kind of nice, but I think you know, taming them is usually the better option, especially with some of the new changes to animals, like how animals are going to always evolve. I think if they're tier 1 or tier 2, I think now they always evolve into like a tier 3 or tier 4 unit, so you're going to get some really nice Amazon armies if you invest in that strategy early enough and you level those units up quickly enough. But there's also just like in general, I think all animals are going to get an extra 2 shields and extra 10% accuracy, which if you get that anomaly with the worm, the quartzite worm, means you're going to have like a near invincible animal unit as an Amazon unit, as an Amazon commander. Sounds amazing. And I think there may have been some boost to their health as well. I missed it and didn't have time to go back and really look at all the details before recording this. I'm trying to put out a video at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, so it's like not too late in Europe. Yeah, next page. We're almost ready to talk more about the details in this stuff. There's a lot here, you know. But I want to go over the stuff I had from the streams. Bronze landmarks are now called tier 4 unit, tier 4 landmarks, which means they've added another tier, and I believe that is actually what they talk about right here, exploration sites. They said there's nothing for the late game, so basically they've added exploration sites, which are rare and grant a lot of income, can be linked to your colonies to bonuses to produce units. Sounds nice. This one says grants you +5 influence, wow, and units get +10% accuracy, really nice. I don't think it allows you to build any new units, but who knows, maybe some of them do. There's 7 types, so chances are maybe. Sounds pretty good. Those must be tier 1, so yeah, the old gold ones are probably now tier 2, and silver now tier 3. That's my guess. Overwatch icons are bigger. The interface has been made a little bit easier to see what things are trying to tell you in combat, and I like that because I've definitely missed some things. What's going on in the background? No, I need to stop this. This is an ad. Okay, I was trying to play some stuff from Spotify there to basically get some audio in the background. I guess I could just hop into the game like this and that would work, but now I don't have this stuff right in front of me. But I'm not actually looking at it right this second. We still got like 5 or 7 more points to go through. Fumble chances are higher, but now they aren't as bad as they used to be. Now it's no longer just a miss, which is really nice. I really didn't like the way morale worked in the base game, and I didn't really play around with it too much, but I like the fact that now you can do damage even if you fumble, even if you just got a tiny bit of morale damage or a penalty on you. That won't completely ruin your damage dealer's barrage of attacks. I mean, it had some nice strategies involved with it that could allow you to counter some people who didn't understand how morale worked, but it seemed kind of gamey, kind of exploitative of people who didn't read the tooltips. So yeah, that's definitely like I think a new player friendly change and a user friendly change. So yeah, very nice. I think the Amazons got a really nice change to some of their doctrines that I was not a big fan of. Like now there's 2 military doctrines. They moved one of the economic ones to later on, and one of the ones that you can get as a tier 1 thing is going to give you the ability to apply poison with your melee and bio attacks, which is going to be like, you know, your huntresses, and maybe your secret tech unit has a melee attack. That could be quite nice to be able to apply poison. Like that synergizes pretty well with the psi number, which Tom was playing on the stream. It reduces morale so that you can do more damage, right? lots of nice synergy and potential plans. I think there's another one which gives your animal and mounted units an extra 200 morale, extra 10 HP, and plus 50% XP. So yeah, if you've got a lot of animals left over from early in the game, say if you did what I did in my recent playthrough and you got some mega beetle dolts, you can get a lot of HP on them and then maybe regenerate that HP every time they get attacked, so that they're actually pretty safe, can take a little bit of damage, tank a little bit of damage while killing off a unit or two here and there. But also that could apply to your pteranodons or whatever other mounted units you have available to you. Bio Crusader now applies Frenzied to certain types of units. I actually missed exactly which units it does, but Frenzied is really nice. It adds your plus 10% to your melee attacks. I assume it's to animals and mounted units. That would make the most sense to me, but I didn't actually catch that part in the stream. Boreal Doctrine now gives a happiness bonus and extra movement speed to things that are in forests, so I think now your animals can keep up with your Amazon units that are immune to, or not immune, they have extra movement speed in those forests, and you've been terraforming the map, so yeah, you don't want your guys getting separated because of the movement speed differences. Now it sounds like forests are a little bit cheaper to make, which is amazing. I always liked the doctrine that made your cities more productive when they're attached to forests, so now it's going to be even better, and terraforming in general is going to be even better, which, let's face it, that's what the Amazon are kind of designed to do. And let's see, right, when you zoom out to the layer where you can see like military, economy, and operations, now there's red outlines around things that are controlled by enemies. Nice user friendly change. I love that they're thinking about that kind of stuff. Exploitations now have linear improvements to give a clear idea as to why you would want to improve it. I think earlier, once you got to tier 3 and tier 4, you were like, that doesn't sound like much better, and I don't really want to move around my pops, so they're always doing a certain job. That doesn't necessarily sound optimal all the time. Now it's pretty much optimal to take that and just sit on that passive bonus, which I love. I think that's going to make building stronger cities a lot better, which is a personal preference. I've heard that a lot of people think that you can't really defend against early game rush, and I think that if you play your cards right, there may be a way to do it, but I don't know. I haven't done any multiplayer. I haven't done a single game on multiplayer, so what do I know, right? Spawners spawn every 6 to 8 turns, which is something that I think you could have tested earlier or seen earlier, after they spawn their first unit, which I think is actually on turn 7. I've talked about that before in one of my earlier guides, but I didn't know how often it spawns after that. In the first version of the game, it only spawned once, so I thought, that was all it was supposed to do, but it's supposed to spawn a little bit more. But I think there was some kind of bug that kept it from working the way it used to. Sounds like we're not going to get any more anomalies in the next 2 expansions, because that was all built into the last expansion, and they don't want to put content in the future things that kind of was designed to go with that would fit into previous expansions. There's no real easy way to put that into Umbrella. I know Stellaris found a way to do that, but they had to tweak some things, and they may try to do that in the future, but yeah, I don't know if they're going to get to that this year. It sounds like they've got enough plans for the near future. Now, let's take a quick look at what we have here, as well as one interesting comment that I saw below. There's something about pustules in here, which somebody commented about, and I found that really, really interesting. Okay, so this is just basically saying they listen to the community. Amazing. I love that they do that. Awesome. There's 26 pages of things coming, so there's a little summary here just to give us a brief overview of what's to come. Alright, now colonizer mode we've talked about. Sounds really nice. Not being able to build colonizers, but being able to turn, I think you can turn settlements. Does it not say it here? Transform in-game settlements into colonizers. You can do that, yeah. So you can do a little bit of stuff with placing your cities in the right location, but is it worth it? Is it better just to get the city going? depends on what's around you, right? Game intensity settings, yeah, this is the stuff that we talked about earlier with covert operations and making demands cheaper, as well as I think you can turn up the rate that you get quests. We didn't say that earlier, but I think that's in here. Yeah, you can change the rate in which you get quests. I think that's all tied to one thing, so you can't put demands up and then you can make demands lower and then make quests like more sparse or less often. I think if you make it just easier in one regard, you make it easier in both regards. It'll also remove the rivalry system at the lowest setting. Oh, I like that a lot. So that doing a quest for one faction will no longer reduce your reputation for another. I missed that earlier. That was not talked about in stream. Very nice change. I'm a big fan of that, but I wish it wasn't just at lowest setting. I wish that was kind of like a toggle option. So devs, if you're watching this, yeah, that's my initial reaction there. Spawner aggression. I would not turn that down because that's basically free experience, but I guess that could be nice if you're relatively new to the game or if you're trying to do a multiplayer with certain, I guess just like controls for balance. Like some people might use the spawners to farm up wildlife, and it's not really fair, especially if Amazon are a lot better than they used to be. Defender strength. Yeah, okay, that's been changed. It's been removed. The world threat has been removed. Never mind. So now defender strength is different. All right, so they did kind of separate out some stuff. That means I think there's a decent chance that they might separate out the NPC dwellings and the AI passivity into other categories down the line. Varied game starts. So yeah, now everybody's going to start with a secret tech unit. That's pretty important, and some people apparently didn't like the pustule all by itself because it unless it can infect other units, they basically said it's not as good as the equivalent tier 1 units. And I don't know about that. I don't know if that's true, to be honest. I know there was a comment below where somebody disagreed, and I guess we could jump back up here after looking at that comment. I remember it wasn't too far down here. I should just go through these one at a time. But yeah, they basically said that they disagree about pustules being bad. Can't find it now, of course. That would be how it is. Maybe it's on the next page. Ah, here we go. Yes. He says Pustule is the best melee tier 1 unit and far more better than destroyers. And I've actually heard some other people say that they prefer the Pustules over destroyers, and they don't actually research destroyers because they love skitter and the just general evasiveness of the Pustule. I think once you get it to prime rank, it gets evasive. I could be wrong about that, but I agree that the Pustules are a little bit better than maybe the devs indicate in their initial post, and that, you know, they may want to take that in consideration when launching the new update. But what do I know? I haven't done it in multiplayer. That could be some people trolling me saying something about a strategy that's actually terrible. They're like, oh, it's good, try it out, and it's actually really bad. So yeah, that was the secret tech talk. Not particularly useful unless it can infect other units. They no longer require tech to be researched. Okay. So I guess you can just get more and more and more to make them a little bit better. Alright, so there's some more balancing changes to come. Yeah. The economy has been streamlined. I agree, based on what I saw, it seemed pretty easy to understand, especially with the way exploitations are going to work and the way they've kind of simplified the way the map is organized and the way you can read that information quickly. Tech tree has been rearranged. It's gonna make a mess. of my tier list, but who knows. I guess it's good I didn't do the full comprehensive one yet. Now we can do that with this big update, and hopefully it doesn't change too much in the future, but probably will. Interface is much better. AI and diplomacy, yeah, it's all stuff that we've talked about here. I'm just going to take a quick second to scroll through these, see if there's anything that I wanted to talk about, but I'm pretty sure we're about ready to wrap this up. How this update affects saves, apparently it can give you extra resources, otherwise it should be fine, which I'm going to do because I want my animals to be awesome in my Amazon playthrough. That's if I don't finish it before the expansion comes out. I'm actually kind of close to it. Won most of the battles we've been in. I thought Amazon were pretty good before this, but yeah. They were kind of tricky to play at the beginning. I did lose more units than I was used to. I agree. The team did do a fantastic job. It looks really cool. Especially like the amount of changes that we're getting. It's not just a couple after all the time. And, you know, since the break, really. DLC will be coming soon. This is a big long message here. Yeah, see, it's like when you made a long message like that, I don't know if I can read through that right this second. There may be some good stuff in here about anomalies. I would like to see more anomalies. Is probably what he's saying too. But yeah, I think this will be where we wrap it up here. I don't remember there being any other comments than the posture one. The posture one it stands out as something that's noteworthy. I think Zaskow has commented on some of my previous videos. But yeah, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and to leave a comment, maybe share it. I hope to see you around soon. Have a good one.